What's happening? SGDAT here, and today we're going to be building a live streaming and video encoding PC. All right, I know guys, my hair is in a complete state and I absolutely need to deal with it right away, like yesterday, otherwise the world's going to explode. Just kidding. We need to build a live streaming PC. Before I get onto that, wow. Quick warning before we continue, I'm just about to get into a lot of specifics relating to our decision making in regards to what we're choosing, why we're choosing it. This might bore you. If you're not into that and you just want to see the build, I'm going to be putting a timestamp right there. Just skip to that timestamp and we'll get right into the parts and the PC build. Back to the video. Here's what we've been using. We've been using an iMac made in 2015, two Blackmagic mini recorders, and a couple of other bits here and there, but those are the main two things. Now, the problem we're trying to solve is, well, straightforward at first glance. Really, we need more horsepower for doing more at the same time. This allows us to be efficient with our workflow when we're live streaming, pre-live stream, and just in general makes everything a lot more smoother, seamless, and that results in a better live stream. Currently, we only use OBS. That is, what does OBS stand for again? Hold on. I thought it stood for Open Broadcaster Software. Oh, it does. Okay. Currently, we just use OBS, and that's been great for all of our needs. But in order for us to do more of our live stream, there's a couple more softwares we need to make use of. One of which has been very great in the way we do things in the past for just displaying things on the screen and pre-presentation preparation and so forth. This software is known as ProPresenter. In a nutshell, what ProPresenter is PowerPoint on steroids. With what OBS currently offers us, we need more than just layers with names. I digress, let's move on. We use SDI for getting a video signal from the cameras to the computer. We have tried to use HDMI cables a number of times, but these were always dead on arrival. The video signal was always much weaker with longer cables, leading to problems seeing the signal on the computer. SDI cables work a lot better as we need a long distance for the camera to the computer, and so it was a no-brainer to just carry on using that. I considered internal SDI adapters, but these adapters were insanely priced, with the only adapters available costing £315 with postage and packaging included, and that just stretches our budget way beyond, and so that was a no-go, but we still considered it. Then there was the question of whether the 3 input devices on this SDI adapter could even be used simultaneously at the same time, and that's important for us. I checked YouTube and did searches online on other search engine websites for information on this, but only found information showing how to record directly to a PC and switch between them, but only with Blackmagic's own software. And really, we don't just use that software, we use OBS. I couldn't find if there was a way for us to use each of the ports as intended in other softwares like OBS. But then I realized using a PCI card at all was not an option, as there wouldn't be any space on the motherboard. You see, that PCI slot or that PCI port on the motherboard is reserved for our GPU, which will be doing lots of heavy lifting in terms of video encoding. That GPU usage is non-negotiable. Not even onboard graphics can do it for us. We need a dedicated GPU. Reason being, we're not just using OBS, we're using other software too, and those are also GPU accelerated. Now, initially we wanted to make use of Blackmagic's own mini recorders. We've actually got 2 of them already, as I mentioned earlier in the video. There were problems with that. I tried a while ago with an older PC build, but that didn't work. I tried with a Threadripper build, actually the one behind me, that also didn't work. But eventually I found out that this is mainly due to the Thunderbolt hardware being required for these mini recorders. That Thunderbolt hardware has to be on the motherboard. Neither of the PCs, my PC behind me or the older PC, has that. And well, you see, Apple and Intel worked on that, and that allowed Apple to pretty much own Thunderbolt exclusively for a while. dating like 2011 or something. This led to poor support for Thunderbolt on Windows. There is Windows support for Thunderbolt now, but it's still very limited. I did some searches online, and even recent laptops with Thunderbolt 3, the latest version as of today, Thunderbolt 3 laptops still can't seem to work with these recorders as intended. Blackmagic claims they support Windows with their recorders as of today, but according to forum posts on their own website, there's still a number of issues that needs to be resolved with this. A number of people have been complaining, saying that they can't even find their mini recorders showing up within Blackmagic's own software on Windows. And keep in mind, these are on machines that are quite relevant today. Now, I was this close to just jumping in with a PCI adapter and taking a risk to see how it might go, but then I realized something. This is the biggest deal breaker yet. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this video and you're liking what you see, consider subscribing. Link is down below. And drop me a like, please. I'm begging you. Can't you see I'm begging you? I know I'm posing, but I'm just delaying whilst you hit that subscribe button or the like button. Humble request. Let's carry on. And now that leads me to our requirements. 1. We need a portable setup. The setup itself needs to be small, easy to carry, and meet all the requirements we want in terms of hardware within that setup. And now the video capture devices must be USB. We strongly considered Thunderbolt, but we was not able to find a single mini ITX board, a small motherboard form factor with 2 Thunderbolt ports. And that was a big problem. It was then I realized that there's no way I'll be able to make use of these 2 Thunderbolt recorders, mainly because they're not USB compatible. And of course, there are no PCI ports available within this build for us to even accommodate Blackmagic's own PCI adapter. You see, when it comes to video and getting the video signal from the cameras to the computer, USB 3 is more than enough for that. USB 3 has a lot of bandwidth. It's all we need if we're getting a video signal that is less than 8K to the computer. And of course, it's USB, as in it's used like everywhere. It's universal. There is no lack of support on, well, any platform. It can be used even on mobile phones. I've managed to find a massive selection of USB capture cards, and on Amazon, there are a lot, as in they're very inexpensive. The selection is vast. And you know what? That actually shows what consumers are interested in, and rightly so, due to the reasons I stated earlier. I've opted to buy 2 very inexpensive USB capture cards, and they both support 1080p at 60 frames a second, and they're about £50 each. Of course, these are HDMI based adapters, but we still have to convert the SDI cable to HDMI. So I've opted to pick up 2 SDI to HDMI adapters, which are both also relatively cheap for what they do. £26 each. As for the rest of the requirements, I've opted for a wireless keyboard and mouse for reduced clutter on the portable setup, and a 15-inch portable monitor that's both slim and 1080p, in other words, full HD. Right then, here are the parts. As for the CPU, this here is the AMD Ryzen 5 3600X with 6 CPU cores and 12 threads. I've opted for this CPU specifically because it strikes a good balance between single core performance and multi-core performance, especially for what we need. Based off of benchmarks that I've seen on the internet, this provides the highest single core performance values and scores on the market right now, even compared to what's Intel's equivalent? Core i9 10900K. Reason why I even care about single threads or single core performance is that there are still a number of tools used within live streaming that could be affected by that. It's going to use multiple cores anyway. Anyhow, this is good for both live streaming and rendering. Next, we have 32 gigabytes of RAM, 16 gigabytes each, and I can only use 2 sticks of RAM in this build because the motherboard only has 2 slots. It's a small motherboard that I opted for. This one specifically, they run at 3200 megahertz, and the thing about Ryzen is that the more RAM speed it has access to, the faster it will be. Next, we have the motherboard. This is a ASRock B550 Phantom Gaming ITX board. It's also got wireless AF. We probably won't use wireless. I chose this specific motherboard because it meets a number of needs. It's got got 2 M.2 slots for our SSDs, I'll get to in a moment. 6 USB ports at the back, which will be very useful for all our peripherals. And one of those is USB 3.2, which is a much higher spec version of USB. Very similar to Thunderbolt Gen 1, Thunderbolt Gen 1, something along those lines. Anyhow, it's very good, nice and small, and it will fit within our build. The next star of the show, the GeForce RTX 2060. Now, when it came to choosing the graphics card, I had a couple of options. I've actually already got a GeForce GTX 1050 Ti, and I was going to use that for this build, but considering all that has been developed for the latest RTX series, those being the Tensor cores, RTX cores, CUDA cores has existed forever, so those are also kind of useful for rendering. What got me purchasing one of these are really the Tensor cores, which are used within the new NVENC encoder, which will be used within our streaming software. Now, according to NVIDIA's website, they do say that the GTX 1060 Ti also supports this and is actually half the price. However, there was also mixed messaging across other websites saying the minimum is a GTX 2060, but somehow I feel they copied and pasted NVIDIA's website early on, and NVIDIA updated it with the GTX 1060 Ti saying that also supported. But to be honest, I don't have a lot of time, and this was a guaranteed option. I want to build this one time and have no regrets. And by no regrets, I mean, well, building the system and finding that it actually doesn't have Tensor cores. So I just thought the 2060 was the safer option. We've also got a 500 watt small form factor power supply, which will fit within our small form factor case. I'll show you that in a moment. Here's our capture card, a 1 terabyte NVMe drive, which is very, very fast because of the NVMe interface. This supports, oh yeah, I've got 2 of them. This NVMe drive supports 2,500 megabytes read and write. So one of them for the Windows drive and the other for video projects and anything that needs to be accessed a bit more frequently. But yeah, Windows plus programs, data. That's the idea. And here are the SDI to HDMI converters in 2 more very uninspiring boxes made in China. This is the CPU cooler. This is going to cool down the processor and keep it nice and silent. This is the Dark Rock Pro 4, and it's really heavy, more than I expected it to be. But as a result, this PC is expected to be silent. This cooler is also known for its amazing cooler design, which aids in that silent operation. But yeah, this is a tonk beast, very heavy, more than I thought it would be, which is why I opted to pick up one more thing, and that is a GPU holder. I know it's meant for holding GPUs, not CPUs, but I'm kind of hoping that I can hold both of this, because this particular holder actually has 2 little prongs on it, and hopefully I'll be able to use one of them to hold up this massive CPU cooler. We'll see how it goes, but I've got hold of this just in case. If I can't use this, then I've got other options. This is the case, nice and small. Okay, this is the box of the case, though it's still inside, but this will give you a good idea just how big this PC is going to be. I mean, this is the packaging for the case. It's inside of here, so you know it's going to be smaller than this box. Let's get on with it. All right, will this computer turn on? Let's see how it goes. Hopefully I get a screen before it overheats, as there's no CPU cooler, but all I need is a picture. If I get a picture, then I can continue. Ah, yes, we got it. Right, there you have it. It's found our processor, and that's our 32 gigs of RAM. boy. Whew. Didn't that turn out sweet? Overall, I'd call this a success. However, there were a few changes we had to make at the end. One of those changes was actually with the capture card. Now, this capture card is very cheap, let's just say that. Supposedly, it has been very fuzzy and has a very strange distortion effect and getting very hot. And we think that heat is affecting the quality of the picture coming out of it. So we've opted for a few changes. First of all, we're going for something a lot more top tier. We ended up picking up the Marshall VAC23S HU3. Wow, what a mouthful. But the main selling point was the SDI or HDMI inputs, which we have the choice of switching back and forth between if we desire, and has a USB 3.0 connection. And that will be going to a little box which we're already using right now called an ATEM Television Studio HD. This has about 8 inputs. It takes in 4 SDI inputs and another 4 HDMI inputs. We're really just going to be using the SDI inputs, but we know with this box, anything we do in the future, 4 cameras, 6 cameras, or well, up to 8 cameras, this box will allow us to have that future-proof solution in our hands. Also, you're probably wondering, if I'm just using 2 PCIe 3.0 NVMe SSDs, why do I need a B550 board? Well, answer is simple: to be future-proof. We've got SSDs out there now that have speeds of like 5 gigabytes a second. That is insane, but nothing's too insane when it comes to having the absolute best in video production. I would have gone for one of these SSDs. However, these SSDs cost way too much. You're looking at like what? A single terabyte costing north of 200 quid. It's quite pricey. For what we need it for right now, it just ain't necessary. There are SSDs out there, PCIe 4.0 SSDs with 5 gigabytes plus a second, costing roughly 700, 800 pounds. We just don't have the budget for that. I mean, that's half the PC budget right there. And no, just absolutely, just no. A couple more minor adjustments which had to be made. We got an extra Be Quiet fan which goes at the rear of the case, and that promotes more active airflow, so constant airflow coming in through the front and then out through the back. Another minor adjustment made was to do with the fan filters. Actually, there was no fan filters for the bottom of the case. I guess Lian Li thought there was no need for it, but if the graphics card is right there at the bottom of this case, it's going to be sucking up a lot of stuff from the bottom of the case, being dust. I always promote using computers on the desk, but I just went ahead and got fan filters for the bottom of the case to ensure that there was always some kind of protection against dust infiltrating the case and then causing problems in the future. All right, hope you liked this. If you did, well, you know what to do. Hit that like button down below, and please consider subscribing. There's more content just like this coming up your way. I still have yet to do something software development related. You'll see soon enough. Please subscribe if you're into that. All right, hope you have a good day. Peace.